the Women Unleashed podcast. Join us as we share with you the fun, confronting, wild, fucked up, epic, and raw side of being a woman in today's world. Nothing is off limits. Allow yourself to be inspired to be unleashed.
We acknowledge that we are recording our podcast on the traditional country of the Turrbal and Yagara people and pay respect to their elders past and present. We acknowledge and respect their continuing culture and contribution they make to this community.
Hey, welcome back to the Women Unleashed podcast. It feels like we have a really special guest here, but you are no guest to our podcast, Taylor. It is Taylor Kelly. Woohoo!
Hello. Hi. It's been a while.
It has been a little while. We've had little baby Sophia.
Yes.
So just bring us up to speed, hey? Because today we're going to celebrate all things about our podcast and about ourselves, because it is 1 year since our first podcast went live to the world.
Oh, how crazy. I can't believe it's been a year. I don't know if it feels like it's been longer or a year feels like too long. I don't know how I feel about it, if it feels like it's gone too quickly. But yeah, very exciting considering we came up with this over a couple of drinks at dinner.
It is. And to like even reflect on the number of people that we've impacted. But for me, it kind of was just like, oh, it's March. Hang on, what date did we start the podcast? Oh, it was March last year. Dang, it's a year. That's what it was like for me.
It's just, yeah,
So
it is crazy. It's crazy. It's awesome, crazy.
super cool. All right, well, Taylor, do you want to just give us a little bit of how you been, a little brief intro to motherhood, but we'll do like a more in-depth episode when you are like back on board.
Yeah. It's been really cool. I really like it. I enjoy being a mum so far. It's awesome. My Sophia, our baby, she's so cute, and she's just beautiful, and she's awesome. It's been just like the best experience. So being a mum's been so much better than I thought it would be. And just very different. I don't think and the love you feel for your baby is very special. I don't know. It's really cool. So that's pretty much what I've been up to, is having a baby. So yes.
Awesome. And it looks like you are taking to motherhood super well.
Thank you.
Yeah, which is super cool. And I'm looking forward to walking in or getting an insight into your shoes when you're back with us, and letting everyone know what it's really like, and empowering other women in their journey to motherhood. So it's a whole nother avenue available for us and our listeners. So that's super exciting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, today we are going to acknowledge the pants off of our listeners, the podcast, Women Unleashed, and Taylor and myself. And you might even feel yourself going, oh, I don't know how I feel about acknowledgement. And that's okay, because I felt like that too once upon a time. I never acknowledged myself. What about you, Taylor?
Yeah, it's strange. No, I didn't acknowledge myself either. I was very good at being critical of myself, though. Very good at that. But acknowledging
it was a great habit.
Trickier.
Yeah. So you're not alone if you don't feel comfortable acknowledging yourself. Not a lot of people do, and not a lot of people even realize that they do. So what does it look like if you're not comfortable with acknowledging yourself? If somebody else gives you a compliment and you feel like you need to compliment them back, that's a sign that you can't be with an acknowledgement, and be comfortable and really receive that acknowledgement from somebody else. What about you, Taylor? Have you any other telltale signs?
Well, I think sometimes it can be like you freeze up when you're trying to, like, oh, God, I haven't done this for so long. I think my brain's like slowed down. Um,
It
it's
could
like,
be here right now, you know?
oh, true, true. Yeah, it's like a freeze kind of motion, like you're logically maybe thinking through something and you're trying to like even sometimes just look at the good side of something or praise yourself for the work you've done and you can't even think because you're just in like a freeze zone because it's so uncomfortable. I don't know. I think sometimes that can happen. You just freeze on those things.
Cool. I think a lot of people can relate to that. Freezing, choking up, trying to, just bounce back or find something else to acknowledge someone else for, which is inauthentic, by the way. Like, you don't really mean it. You're just doing that to, like, cover up the fact that you can't receive that acknowledgement. So it is a learned practice. I've spent at least 2-3 years practicing it. And even in our family, we practice it, you know, at least probably once a week, a few times a week when we sit down at dinner and we go around the table and we talk about what we want to be acknowledged for and receive that acknowledgement. And one of the key things that I just said was what we want to be acknowledged for. So this is like a little practice, or you can take this away and try it if you like, is actually asking someone what they want to be acknowledged for. And the power in that is you having someone actually reflect and find a positive or something that they are proud of themselves for, that they are then telling someone else about. So they're present to, oh my God, I'm proud about that. And I've told someone else, oh, I'm really proud about that. And then somebody else actually acknowledges them for the thing that they were proud of themselves for. And it's just so important to acknowledge someone for the thing that they want to be acknowledged for, because kind of along the lines of the 5 love languages, if you're acknowledging someone for something that you thought they did that was awesome, and it was just barely a blip on their radar, but there was something else that they did, say around a project that they're really proud of themselves for, then they're just gonna, that acknowledgement is just not gonna land. They're gonna be like, oh, well, I do that anyway, you know, but actually this other thing I'm really proud of. So that's why we ask each other what we want to be acknowledged for. We're going to do that today, and we're just going to like ramble off a few acknowledgements of our own because we're super awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Taylor, whilst I'm starting with some acknowledgements of the podcast, it'll give you some space to think of your own acknowledgements too, and get those cogs turning. Let's go. Okay, so a stat that I follow, and I'll just like log in on my phone or whatever, is Buzzsprout, and it's the number of downloads. So we have been publishing episodes almost every week. There was like one period where we might have had like 4 or 6 weeks off, but we've been publishing an episode every week for the last year, and we are, what are we at, like 40 episodes or something? Let me just double check the Instagrams, right? Because that'll tell us. This will be episode number 41. Holy moly. And so as at episode 40, we have had, of all time, since first published, 1,010 downloads of our podcast episodes.
Woohoo.
Woohoo! That is so cool. Like,
It is.
There's only 365 days in a year. So that means, right, let's have a look. Do some quick math, Britt. We're having almost 3 downloads a day. We're reaching 3 people a day with our podcast. How cool is that, Taylor?
It's so cool. It's so cool. We're basically famous.
We are. We're a little bit famous. And, you know, some people think we're a lot famous, and I'm okay with that too, because that's where I'm headed. So almost 3 people a day we're reaching with our podcast. That's pretty fucking cool, you know. Or you could say, like, we've reached over 1,000 people. I'm sure we've got lots of returning listeners as well, which means you're getting so much out of this podcast. And look, if we didn't see the downloads happening, like, then we'd have to stop and go, okay, what are we doing that's not working and what is working, to find, like, to know that, you know, you're actually downloading and listening to our stuff. So thank you for listening and sharing, and leaving reviews on our podcasts and rating it, because that just, like, I get a lot out of that. What about you, Taylor? When you see someone leave a review, it's just like, oh my God, someone's taking time out of their day. This is epic.
Yeah, exactly. And it also just shows whether we're on the right track or not too. So it's good. It's very good. So thank you all.
Definitely. It's pretty cool. So also, let's have a look at where people are listening from. Let's go all episodes. Ding, ding, ding. Ooh, this is cool. So 81% of our listeners are from the Oceania region. So that's like Australia, New Zealand, and I'm going to say by the look of that map, Papua New Guinea. My geography is not as good as my podcasting skills. We then have the next biggest area is North America, so 11%. Woo-woo! Which is, you know, one of the biggest markets in the world. So I'm so glad we're entering that space. The next, we have 4% of downloads from Asia. Well done. And then 3% from Europe. So, gosh, we're almost worldwide. We've just got South America and Africa to go.
Oh, my Lord.
Super, super, super.
It's very cool.
All right, Taylor, before I keep going, I feel like I could go with stats all day.
Yes.
Have you got an acknowledgement of yourself in the last year? What have you accomplished since starting this podcast, on the podcast or just in your life?
Well, I'll just point out the first one is having a baby.
Woohoo! A major one. A major one. Now,
Yeah.
Taylor, having the baby is just like, how long was the labor birth bit? Like, how many hours or days?
How was the labour? How long was the labour?
Like, how many hours was
Is that
that?
what you asked? Sorry, how long was the labour?
Yeah. How
So-
many hours was it?
Technically, it started at 1:30 on the Monday morning, and I had her at 5:30. However, the induction started at 2:00 on the Sunday, and she came out on the Monday at 5:30 p.m. So it was like 27
Okay.
hours.
Okay, 27 hours, right? So the process of having the baby took 27 hours. But you were like 9 months of carrying and creating and being fucking sick, like horrendously sick, which you shared about in a
Yes.
previous episode. Yeah, I mean, that's a 9-month endeavor.
Yes, it's a long time. It's very strange not being pregnant now, but I like it. I like not being pregnant. It's nice to feel well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was
Yep.
probably and working, you know, through, not when I was super sick, but working through a lot of it and still doing the things that I said I was going to do through so that's probably my main thing. There's a few others I've thought about, but that's probably the big one.
Cool. All right, well, I'll throw one into the mix. I bought a horse called Carlos, and I've started riding again and show jumping, and I've told the world that I'm going to the Olympics and I'm going to win a gold medal. So that's a pretty big achievement for me, pretty big acknowledgement. Because and it's been such a journey, like being super uncomfortable and getting expanding my comfort zone. But I just love riding him. And yesterday we had a really good training session. We jumped the highest we'd jumped so far, which is 1.25 meters. And the Olympic height is 160. So we've got 35 centimeters left to go. And we're not competing at 125 yet, but we'll be there soon. We're just training. That's one pretty cool acknowledgement. All right, Taylor, you go next.
Yeah, that's awesome. Especially when I didn't even know that's what you wanted for a long time. You know, you kept it under wraps and now it's all out in the world.
Yeah, I know. That was pretty inauthentic of me to keep it under wraps and deny myself of it as well. Very good point.
But you did it, and you even bought a damn horse. How many people can say they own their own horse?
I know. A lot of people don't, or they wish, or they've, I get how many stories I've got of someone saying like, oh, I rode a horse one day and I fell off, or like, I just don't do horses or whatever. Or I love horses, and the lady down the road gives us licorice. Carlos is a bit of a sweet talker, so.
Yeah, awesome.
Cool. Alrighty, Taylor. What's your next achievement or acknowledgement?
I was thinking probably, it's probably one we could share, really, is like how we've shared things about ourselves out into the world that we're probably, I don't know, not proud of in some cases. Like, we've been quite authentic and open with our listeners and shared stuff that I would rather not have people know in the wider world about me, or just being real about our life and things that have happened, and just had like uncomfortable conversations, and not just with each other, but like sharing it with lots of people, so that's probably something. Well, it's probably one we can share. I don't know. Obviously, you don't have to want to have that acknowledgement, but I do think it's something that, for me, we had to step out of our comfort zone, and really express things in some cases that, like that episode I did on my finance journey, that was uncomfortable. So,
yes,
like that.
The episode, giving us your financial situation and the journey and how you got to where you are now. I could definitely see that we've both had the courage to like push each other inside of the conversations that we record, inside of our commitment that women really get what it's like. They hear themselves in what we share.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think some of the most challenging episodes for me were the ones about the eating disorder that I had, and the recovery of that, and sharing about like my family, and I guess that leads into my next acknowledgement, which is of myself, in the way in which I have dealt with or communicated with or received communication from people close to me that have had opinions about what it is that I've said. So I'm proud of the way in which I have listened to those communications and received them, and been really open to receiving them.
Yeah.
Because I think that the feedback from your family and friends closest to you can sometimes be the really hardest to hear.
Yeah, good on you.
And not letting that stop me. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, awesome. Cool.
All right. Let's go for another one. I'm looking.
Well, I want to acknowledge you, Britt, for, I don't know if I'm jumping the gun here, but acknowledge you for
Do it.
looking after the podcast and getting guests on and doing all this and doing the social media stuff and getting out of your comfort zone while I've been having a baby and managing everything. So I acknowledge you for that, and I thank you as well.
Yeah, thank you. That is definitely something I would like to be acknowledged for. Yeah. It's definitely easy to go to the place of like, oh, I've got to do it all on my own. But I haven't, I've gone there like a couple of times, but then I'm like, hey, Taylor's having a baby and she's super awesome and I love doing this podcast with her. So of course I'm going to do this whilst she's having a baby and enjoying being a mum. Because that's exactly what I would love my friends and family to do if I was in a similar situation. So, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, well,
and
thank you.
Really enjoyed. Yeah, it's actually pushed me out of my comfort zone, as you said, or expanded my comfort zone to build relationships with women that I, aspire to, and built. It's really enabled me to have more connections with some pretty super duper females, of which we've only brought one on so far, as at the date that this records. But I have recorded some podcast episodes with 2 more amazing women, and you'll be hearing from them next week and the following weeks. So yeah, super cool.
Very cool.
Gosh, okay, what's next? Let's have a think. Taylor, I want to acknowledge you for having the courage to have the conversations outside of this podcast that we've needed to have, to make sure that we're both still on the same page, that we are, that we still enjoy doing this, or that we are making, having the impact that we want to have. I find it really safe. I find you a really safe space to have those kinds of conversations, even though I may not be super comfortable. But yeah, that's what I want to acknowledge you for.
Thanks, Britt. That's nice. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I like that one.
Really like that one. All right, let's go into a few more stats about the podcast. So, FYI, anyone who likes stats and knows of really good, platforms of stats for our podcast, please let me know, because I'm just using Buzzsprout and it's okay, but it could be better. All right, let's stick with a little bit of a location. Now, most of our listeners, or 61%, are in... Oh, no, hang on. That's the last 5 episodes. Let me go with all episodes. Your 62% are from Brisbane. So these are probably mostly the people we know and love, which is awesome. Thank you for your support. And we have a whole bunch of people from Sydney, Adelaide, Victoria, or even going to Cairns and Christchurch. What about that? Oh, there's actually... Okay, this is a place I don't even know. I've never heard of. Bootawa in Queensland. Where is that, Taylor? Let's have a look.
I don't know. You're asking the wrong person. I have to Google it.
I'm Googling. Okay, it's near Mount Mee. Okay. Awesome. I think I might know who that is. I'll have to ask them. If you know who you are, then let me know.
Shout out.
Let's keep going. Also, let's have a look at our socials, because we hit a milestone the other day of 100 followers. We now have 111 followers, which is awesome. which means you guys are sharing and liking and interacting with our content. So thank you, thank you, thank you. We are also going to be a bit more active on LinkedIn because we realize that this conversation that we're having would really benefit people to have it in a little bit more of a corporate setting as well, because the way, if you haven't like seen this already, but the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. And I used to be the type of person that would be like, oh, I'm such a high performer at work, like in my job. But I'm hopeless at such and such in my personal life. But when you really, really like look at it and look at yourself, then it actually, the way you do one thing will be the same that you do at work, and at home it just might look like a little bit different. So yeah, we're going to be a bit more active on LinkedIn. So please follow us there as well.
Cool.
Oh, what else? Taylor, I know you sort of acknowledged me for it before, but I want to be acknowledged for doing the social media program, the marketing course that we've been doing, because I have had like the hugest ramp up in my personal business endeavors, this included, but like the other ones have just gone nuts. And I've loved learning what I've learned, and I haven't been able to keep up with all the homework. But yeah, that's what I want to be acknowledged for.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I acknowledge you, Britt, for doing all the social media, learning the social media, taking time out of your day to learn it and follow through with it. So yeah, I acknowledge you for that.
Yeah, thank you. Awesome. All right, and we'll finish on, I just realised the time, it's like 26 minutes. Let's finish on what do you want to be acknowledged for, and then we can wrap it up.
Me? What I want to be acknowledged for?
Yeah. Yeah. One more final acknowledgement.
I guess like outside of the podcast, but it, we talk about it on the podcast, so it still is, but, having a good relationship with my partner and having a baby,
Yeah.
That's probably more personal, and we've done relationship courses, you and I, to work on our relationships and to keep them really good. But yeah, for me, it's been super important to have good communication with Will and make sure we're on a good page while we have a baby. So for me, that's been a big achievement, is, having a great relationship. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Taylor, I know how important it is to you to have a family that works, that like really, really works. And I acknowledge you for doing the work to create for yourself a family that really, really, really works. And you should be very proud of your relationship with Will and your family that you're building.
Thank you. Thanks. Yes. Cool.
Alrighties. Well, over to you to wrap it up.
All right, well, thank you everyone for listening, and please have fun sharing what you've gotten for yourself out of listening to this episode. Our goal is for our content to reach as many people as possible and become the #1 women empowerment podcast in Australia. Our call to action is that you contribute to the women in your life by sharing this episode, subscribing to our podcast, giving us a 5-star review, and also, I guess, from this episode, acknowledging yourself for something you've achieved in the last year or even in the last week. It's super important to do that. And go out and acknowledge the people around you for their contribution to you as well.
Yeah, love it. All right. Thank you. Bye for now.